Good evening, everyone. First off, I'd like to show appreciation for you liking, sharing, and subscribing my videos. I got more to come. I've just been a little busy between court and travel. It ain't been easy right now for me to, do a bunch of these videos and stuff like that. But I'll definitely get to it once these cases and things slow down and a lot of this paperwork slows down and things like that. I'll definitely be able to fit some more time in to send out some videos. But today I want to tell a story about how Suge Knight tried to double cross me from jail on some money that I told him half a story about. So let's get to it. So back in like 2023 or so, I got introduced to Suge. He called me up. One of my associates put me with him. That was real cool with him. Told him about my skill set, and he started calling me from jail, basically. All right. So, in between him telling stories about, his Cali days and things like that, I, was telling him about that there was some money out there on behalf of him under his name and things like that. And it was maybe on like 200 and something songs. Maybe some of these songs were sample derivatives too, because I really couldn't picture him having that many songs. It was a lot of songs. It was just a lot of songs. I know it was like Chronic album. Maybe some people sampled some stuff on some other works and stuff like that. And I know Suge controlled the publishing rights to the Chronic album and some of those earlier works in like 93, 94, things like that. Suge controlled the publisher rights, even though, he was obligated to pay the writers, but he controlled the publisher rights, all right? So, I mean, his lawyer probably set all of that up for that to happen. That's what I would assume. So I told him a story about that there was some money out there, and I didn't tell him the full story because I didn't have a contract with him, and the plan was for me to fly out to California to the jail that he was at, visit him, do some paperwork, and I think around that time, I was talking to Mike Tyson's manager. Well, I'm still cool with him. Shout out to Fred Frenchie. We had a plan. Me and Frenchie were going to bring Mike Tyson out there. Me and Mike Tyson were going to go out there and visit Suge together. And that was going to be that was supposed to be my first YouTube video. I was going to be able to contain the rights to go visit Suge in jail with Mike Tyson. I do remember that. This might have been like 2 years ago or something like that, but obviously it didn't work out, or else you would have saw that, or whatever. So, whatever information I was telling Suge at the time, he thought he knew enough to go tell one of his people that he was closer with to go look into whatever I was telling him to go collect the money on the 200 and so songs that I was telling him about. Now, I got an associate that I'm cool with that used to work for Universal. She actually got hired by Snoop at the time in 2023 or so to do the administration of publishing for Death Row, because Snoop owns Death Row now and things like that. So my people that I know from Universal got a job to work with Snoop to handle the publishing administration. So basically one day I remember me coming out the barbershop, and maybe about a minute later, I told the female, she called me up and I told the female like, no, she told me actually, look, I'm getting all these disputes from Suge, or I'm getting all these disputes from, she didn't say Suge, but she said she was getting a bunch of disputes on songs from somebody, and she didn't know who it was. And in the back of my head, I think I knew who it was. I was like, I know who that is, because I deal with some people out in California that are in the publishing business, and some of those people that I know have a certain type of aggression, and I kind of know their skill set also. And I had a dispute with this one company out there in California over one of my clients, and I had to take the catalog back from him. One of my clients was stuck with this guy and the contract and stuff like that. My lawyer got her out the agreement and stuff like that. He threatened to sue me and all this other stuff. I actually had a friend actually that works at a royalty company that told me that Suge was cool with this guy. That's right. That's how I knew. So my friend, one of my resources out in California, told me like, "Yo, Suge's cool with this guy." I'm like, "Oh, I dealt with this guy before. I took some catalog from him back in like 2020. He threatened to sue me, but he couldn't do nothing about it. You know, he was just upset that I took the catalog back from him. So you know, he was just talking all that shit. So I told a girl that worked for Death Row, I told her, like, yo, it's this guy, this is his phone number, this is who it is, this is who's making the disputes. But mind you, the disputes that they were making were frivolous because it wasn't where the account was where I was telling him. So like it was like it was like hit and miss. Like he was far from, he wasn't even close, you know what I'm saying, from what I was telling him. So I just remember during that time talking to Suge, you know, him trying to warm me up and being impressed because he's Suge Knight telling me these California stories and, you know, his experience with Death Row with Dr. Dre and stuff like that. Him just telling me some stories. But I remember in between conversations, he was telling me that he wanted me to sue Snoop and DeVante. I think he mentioned because of the Above the Rim soundtrack, he wanted me to sue DeVante. I just really can't remember. But I remember him mentioning suing DeVante. And I remember something about the Above the Rim soundtrack. I just can't really remember. I know Murder Was the Case or something like that was on there, something like that. But I think it was something about something that DeVante produced with the Above the Rim soundtrack. I really can't remember. But at the same time, I'm in the back of my head. I remember me being at the airport one time too, and being in Chicago. He mentioned it a couple of times. I remember just me being in the back of my head, like, yo, like, I'm not suing Snoop. You know what I'm saying? This guy's beloved throughout the industry. You know what I'm saying? And do you really want to be known as like Suge's guy or anything like that? And like the money was very significant. It was a lot of money, make a long story short. And, you know, I was just saying in the back of my head, do I really want to empower this guy with this type of money? If I tell him where the money is and things like that, like, you know, so I wasn't really being aggressive about signing up, flying out to California, going to the jail, signing him up, collecting the money. It just made, over time, I just got real hesitant. Like, you know, after a while, it's just like, the next time he called me, I was in Chicago. And he was just like, yo, what's up? Like, yo, you're going to do this, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. And I was just like real hesitant because like he called me like 3-4 times before that. And I was just getting doubtful. But I picked up the phone the time while I was in Chicago, you know, and just out of respect, you know what I'm saying? And he was just asking me if I'm ready to sue Snoop, if I'm ready to, you know, help him out with DeVante and the Above the Rim soundtrack and stuff like that. And I just wasn't doing that. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I didn't want to be known as Suge's guy. And, you know, and Snoop's highly beloved throughout the industry. And it's not going to help my business, me knowing people thinking that I'm Suge's guy and stuff like that. It's a small industry. It just wasn't going to help me. You know what I'm saying? So by the time he called me when I was in Chicago, I already said to myself, like, I'm not doing it. You know what I'm saying? So that was that. But he was trying to, you know, like I said, he tried to double cross me immediately. And honestly, you would think some of these guys know a little bit more about the business. You know what I'm saying? Because to this day, which is 2 years later, because this was 2023, to this day, if I look, you know, I looked the other day, he still can't find the account. You know what I'm saying? And the guy he toured out in California, he more buys. He's more into buying catalog. That doesn't, just because you buy catalog doesn't really mean that you know all the ins and outs of a catalog. It's a long story, you know what I'm saying? But I mean, Suge and this other guy he got out in California that's in the business that he believes, see, that's what I'm saying. He's perceiving talent. He's thinking that this guy, like, oh yeah, this guy could find it. You know what I'm saying? I've been dealing with this guy for years. Like he's in this part of the business. He could do this and that. And that's not the case because, like I said, 2 years later, they still can't find the account. And if I had to gamble on it, they're never gonna find the account that I was telling them about. You know what I'm saying? And it makes you wonder sometimes, like, you know, even though you're Suge Knight and things like that, and you know, you made all these records and stuff like that, it's like, man, like, you know, some of these guys don't know as much as you think, you know what I'm saying? And it's not to diss Suge Knight, but I am who I am, and he is who he is. You know what I'm saying? I can't tell him how to make hit records. You know what I'm saying? Like he does. He's done some of the biggest things ever in the music industry. You know what I'm saying? But I do believe that he can't do what I do either. You know what I'm saying? So we're just both highly skilled at what we do, and what he's done and things like that. You know what I'm saying? But I just wanted to share that story. But I definitely want you all to like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate it, and I got more stories to come. Thank you.